Hello, and welcome to a series where I teach my friend, an absolute coding beginner, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations from zero. In this session 0, we're going to be introducing our beginner. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the industry and why you would want to learn this product line. And without further ado, let's introduce our coding beginner. Derek, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Hi, my name's Derek. I'm a Purdue graduate. I studied aviation management. I got a major in that, organizational leadership and supervision. I had a minor, and I also got my private pilot's license while I was there. After college, I went into logistics with an aerial application firm, and then that led into service and sales and ag retail for about 9 years. After that, I went back to aviation. I now manage a small airport and am still working with aerial applicators doing logistics and sales. I don't really have much coding experience. I would say 0.001, in fact. I've tinkered with some loops, some if-then statements. I've played some basic coding games online and on the Switch. But coding has always intrigued me. I really do want to dive deeper into it, and I know my buddy James will set me in the right direction. Me and James have known each other since about sixth grade. We used to do everything from making StarCraft maps together to hanging out at the lake. So I look forward to this, and I hope you guys enjoy the journey with us.
Thank you for that introduction, Derek. And I'm excited that you're excited to learn about databases and coding. However, we're going to have to check back in a few lessons because some of it can be pretty dry. But we'll do our best, like we always do, to have a good time. Now, the good news is you already know a lot about business and business processes. And all we're doing with this software is really taking that business process that exists outside the system that used to be done on paper, and we've moved it now into a software system so we have more integrity in the data, and we can leverage new technology to make informed decisions about the business. One of the things that I see fresh graduates out of college have an issue with is taking the business process and then taking their knowledge of coding and combining the two of those. We're going to be focusing on here's the business process and then here's how the code works so that you do not struggle with that. Now, if you're listening from home, don't worry because we're going to be covering all that for you. This product line is an ERP. That stands for Enterprise Resource Planning Software. When people ask me what I do and I say I work on an ERP, they give me a look like, yeah, something like that. It's really just a fancy way of saying you collect the data, it enforces the integrity of the data, then it lets you make decisions with the data. Then the enterprise part comes into play because this is software for businesses that have 200 million or more in revenue. Now, if you don't have that much, they also have another product line called Business Central. If you're here for Business Central, that is not this course. It's completely different. Because we're working on very large businesses as their data, which they're using to make crucial decisions for, it actually pays really well. And that's one of the reasons why you might want to learn this product line. Let me bring up really quick for you this Nigel Frank survey from 2023. This is a company, they always do surveys about people in the industry on a bunch of different product lines, asking them, where did you work? What skills are you working on? What are you getting paid? And it's a combination of people who work for partners, end users, and contractors. As you can see here, even as a junior, you can approach six figures. Although this is a little bit biased on the high end because, of course, New York and California are all including in this. This is US, by the way. The other part is if you're in a technical role, a lot of them are remote. I've actually been mostly remote for about 17 years. I did have to go on site initially to see all the business processes of the companies and to meet the people during implementation. And of course, I've gone to conferences and stuff like that. Outside of about a year period where I was going on site because I was doing things with handheld devices that had to scan barcodes when I was working on that sort of software, I've been almost completely remote. Let's talk a little bit about the industry and who the players are in it. So Microsoft owns the product line. They bought it out a long time ago and they've enhanced it and they're doing continuous updates. So they are the ones maintaining the product line. Then, because it's very complicated and Microsoft doesn't want to handle all the consulting services, there are things called partners. So you have an implementation partner usually, and then you stick with them afterwards. They help you do gap analysis and understand all your business processes. Gap analysis is when you're finding gaps in your business processes that the product doesn't meet and then customizing the product. It's also quite a big effort to migrate your data over to this product. So usually your partner handles that for you. You can do that with your internal resources, but it's usually not the norm. Then there are something called an ISV. That's someone who looked at the gaps and decided, I'm going to build a whole solution around this gap because there's a big enough demand for it in the industry. One of the popular ones is FastPath, and they are focused on security and security compliance. Then there's the actual company implementing the product. That, of course, is the customer of the partners and the customer of Microsoft. They may have resources. Hopefully, they at least have some power users. There's some companies that just outsource the partner for everything. I highly recommend that you get at least somewhat of an internal team who can field tickets to save money. And really, the best relationships that I've had are ones where you have a strong set on the client side of people vetting the tickets and that you can talk intelligently with them about the tickets. If it's the partner doing everything or it's the client doing everything with no communication, it usually ends up in a bad spot. I've been working on this specific product line for about 20 years. 5 years over on the customer side. Then I've worked for a few of the top partners for about 12 years before. Now I've done independent contracting for about 3 years where I either subcontract for partners or do direct work with customers. This course is focused primarily on preparing you to be a technical consultant or developer/programmer. However, I'm going to be equipping you with any of the tools so that you can move into any of these roles pretty easily. And if you're a functional person, it definitely isn't bad for you to know all this information. It's going to help you to work with your technical resource way better. Yay! Okay, I think that's enough information for now. One last thing I want to comment on is I'm expecting you to do these homeworks and give me feedback on it, and I'm really going to be tailoring this series of lessons to you specifically. However, I'm also going to be opening it up to questions from everyone else, so feel free to comment below on any of these videos with questions you may have. I'm also going to be making a bunch of supplemental content, so one of your questions might be turned into a whole video.
That sounds great to me. I mean, this is all French to me right now. I look forward to getting into it, but yes, I promise I'll have plenty of questions.